What if the person you pitied the most was actually the most dangerous person in the room? What if the man sitting outside your bank, begging for coins, already knew exactly how much money was inside? What if his torn clothes, his dirty hands, his broken voice were all a costume? What if everything you saw was a lie? This is a story about a man who fooled an entire city for 10 years. A man who slept on pavements, ate leftover food, and spoke broken words. But at night, planned robberies so perfect that police called them impossible. This will make your hair stand up, because the most dangerous criminal is not the one who looks dangerous. It is the one who looks harmless. His name was Daniel Avery, and for 10 years, nobody knew he existed. Daniel grew up in a small, forgotten town where poverty was not a condition. It was an inheritance. His father worked in a coal mine. His mother cleaned houses. Daniel watched them work their entire lives and still have nothing. He watched rich men drive past their street without slowing down. He watched his father die at 53, tired, broken, and invisible. That night, something inside Daniel changed, not into sadness, into something colder, into patience. He was 22 when he arrived in the city of Manchester with 40 pounds in his pocket and a plan that nobody would have believed if he had told them. He did not look for a job. He did not look for a room. He looked for a pavement near the busiest bank in the city. And he sat down. And he became invisible. That is the genius of Daniel Avery. He understood something that most criminals never learn, that people see what they expect to see. When you look at a beggar, you see poverty. You see weakness. You see someone below you. You do not see a threat. You do not see intelligence. You look away quickly because looking too long makes you uncomfortable. Daniel used that discomfort like a weapon. Every single day for months, he sat outside that bank. He watched, he counted, he memorized. He noticed which guard took a longer lunch break on Fridays. He noticed which manager always left the side door open when he smoked his cigarette at 3 in the afternoon. He noticed the pattern of the security camera, how it moved left, paused, moved right, paused, like a slow, sleeping eye. He noticed everything, and he remembered everything, because Daniel Avery, the beggar who smelled of rain and old newspapers, had a memory like a steel trap. He also had something else, education. Not from a university, from libraries. Every evening after the bank closed and the street emptied, Daniel would walk to the public library. He read books on architecture, on security systems, on psychology, on lock mechanisms. He read case studies of famous heists. He took notes in a small diary that he kept hidden inside the lining of his coat. To anyone watching, he was just a homeless man who wandered into a warm building to escape the cold. Nobody looked twice. Nobody asked questions. He was invisible, even inside the library. After 8 months of watching and learning, Daniel made his first move. It was not dramatic. It was not violent. He simply walked into the bank one afternoon, not in his beggar clothes, but in a clean suit he had bought from a charity shop. He had shaved. He had combed his hair. He carried a briefcase. He walked to the reception desk and told the young woman that he had an appointment with the branch manager. The woman checked her book. There was no appointment. Daniel smiled apologetically, said there must have been a miscommunication, and asked if he could use the bathroom while he called his secretary. The woman smiled back and pointed him down the corridor. Daniel did not use the bathroom. He walked slowly down that corridor, his eyes recording every detail. The position of the server room, the thickness of the fire exit door, the keypad on the wall with 4 buttons more worn than the others. He was inside for 4 minutes. Then he came back, thanked the woman, and left. Outside, he changed back into his beggar clothes and sat down on his pavement. A man passing by dropped 50 pence into his cup. Daniel said thank you. The robbery happened 6 weeks later, on a Thursday night. The bank's alarm system did not trigger. The cameras recorded nothing unusual. The security guard found nothing wrong during his rounds. It was only on Friday morning when the staff arrived that they discovered the safe had been opened and £260,000 were gone. There was no broken glass, no forced doors, no fingerprints, nothing. The police were baffled. A senior detective told journalists it was the cleanest job he had seen in 30 years. Daniel did it 3 more times over the next 4 years,
Different cities, different banks. Same invisible method. He was never caught because he was never suspected. He was just a beggar. And nobody suspects the beggar. But this is where the story takes a turn. Because genius, no matter how brilliant, has one enemy, and that enemy is routine. A young police detective named Sarah Okafor noticed something. She was reviewing CCTV footage from outside a bank in Birmingham, the latest target, and she saw a beggar sitting on the pavement across the street. Nothing unusual, except she had seen the same beggar in footage from Manchester 2 years earlier. Same torn jacket, same blue cup, same way of tilting his head to the left when he looked at the bank doors. She flagged it. Her senior officers laughed. She pulled the footage anyway. It took her 3 months, but she found him. In a small flat in Leeds, neatly furnished, with a bookshelf full of architectural diagrams and a diary that contained, in small, careful handwriting, the detailed plans of 11 banks. Daniel Avery was arrested on a Tuesday morning. He was wearing his beggar clothes. He was sitting outside a bank, watching. At his trial, the judge asked him why. Why this life? Why this deception? Daniel looked at the courtroom full of expensive suits and polished shoes and said very quietly, "Because the system was already a trick. I just learned to play it." He was sentenced to 18 years, and somewhere in a prison library, they say, he is still reading.